Welcome back to the YouTube channel OLD Penny Coins. Most people ignore Jefferson nickel coins because they look common, cheap, and ordinary, but hidden among these 5-cent coins are rare examples worth hundreds, thousands, and in extreme cases, life-changing money. These nickels were spent in wartime, saved by accident or struck with tiny mistakes that collectors now chase like treasure. Today, we uncover 5 Jefferson nickel coins that shocked the coin world. Nickel coins that shocked the coin world. Coins that slipped through everyday circulation while quietly becoming legends. If you have a jar of nickels at home, do not move, because one of these coins could already be waiting for you. The story of the 2011 Jefferson nickel is not just the story of a small 5-cent piece of metal, but it is the continuation of more than 70 years of American history that began when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his administration decided that the nation's circulating coinage needed a symbol of continuity, strength, and democracy in the face of global turmoil, and that Thomas Jefferson would become the face of the nation's 5-cent coin back in 1938, when the Jefferson nickel was first struck. It replaced the Buffalo nickel, which had been in use since 1913, and by the time the United States Mint reached 2011, the design of the Jefferson nickel had already undergone major transformations, reflecting not only changes in artistic style but also in the political and cultural vision of America itself. The year 2011 marks a special chapter in this long-running series because by then, the nickel carried the forward-facing portrait of Jefferson created by sculptor Jamie Franke, which had been introduced in 2006 as part of the Westward Journey series redesigns. Jefferson is shown in a bold, realistic style, staring directly at the viewer with the simple inscription, "In God We Trust and Liberty" in script form, beside his face. And this design was not a coincidence. It was chosen to show Jefferson's character as a man of vision, a statesman and an author of ideas whose contributions to the American experiment in liberty were as vital in the 21st century as they were in the 18th. When collectors today look at the 2011 Jefferson nickel, they are looking at a coin struck at 2 major facilities, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, with tens of millions of examples released into circulation and a smaller number struck in San Francisco as proof issues for collectors. The proof versions stand apart with their mirrored fields and frosted devices struck multiple times to bring out every detail of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello on the reverse, and these coins remain highly sought after among modern collectors who prize deep cameo contrast and pristine condition. The 2011 nickel might at first appear to be an ordinary circulating coin of little numismatic interest. Yet in reality, it captures the continuing evolution of American coinage at a time when the Mint was experimenting with design innovations, new artistic approaches, and updated production techniques. It was also a time when the nation was grappling with the rising cost of producing the nickel itself, because by 2011, the metal content of the 5-cent coin actually cost more than 5 cents, meaning that each coin was produced at a loss to the government, sparking debates in Congress and the Treasury about whether to change the composition of the nickel away from its traditional copper-nickel alloy that had been used since 1866. From a collector's perspective, the story of the 2011 Jefferson nickel is not only about design and economics, but also about rarity, condition, and variety. While hundreds of millions were struck, only a fraction survive in gem, mint state condition free of bag marks, scratches or weak strikes, and those high-grade pieces certified by professional services, such as PCGS or NGC, can command strong premiums, particularly in grades MS67 and above. In addition, errors and die varieties are an important part of the narrative off-center. Strikes, die cracks, double dies, and other minting mishaps. In 2011, nickels are of special interest to specialists who hunt through rolls and bags searching for the next discovery that could make a seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece into a rare collectible worth far more than face value. To understand the significance of the 2011 nickel, one must step back and appreciate the long arc of the Jefferson nickel itself. For over 7 decades, this coin has served as a miniature canvas on which America has displayed its values, its leaders, and its history. Thomas Jefferson remains one of the most complex and influential figures in American history, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, the third President of the United States, the founder of the University of Virginia, the diplomat and thinker who helped shape the philosophy of democracy itself. When you hold a 2011 Jefferson nickel, you are holding more than money. You are holding a piece of American identity and continuity in the broader context of American coin collecting modern issues. Like the 2011 Jefferson nickel may not at first generate the same excitement as the great rarities of the past, such as the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1937 D three-legged buffalo nickel. But they represent an important frontier in numismatics today because modern coins tell us how the mint adapts to new technology, how it balances tradition with innovation, and how it navigates the economics of producing small change in an era when digital money and electronic payments are rapidly replacing coinage altogether. The collector who studies the 2011 Jefferson nickel is studying not only its physical attributes, its weight of 5 grams, its diameter of 21.2 millimeters, its alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, but also its cultural context. The debates about cost of production, the ongoing fascination with Jefferson as a symbol, and the artistry of the mint engravers, who continue to refine and reinterpret his image decade after decade. If one were to create a complete documentary-style presentation stretching across 2 hours, the narrative would include the origins of the Jefferson nickel series in 1938, the wartime silver alloy nickels of 1942 through 1945, the return to standard composition in 1946, the design stability that lasted through 2003, the dramatic Westward Journey series of 2004 and 2005, which broke with tradition to honor the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and then the introduction of the forward-facing Jefferson design in 2006, that continues into 2011 and beyond. Each of these eras builds toward the 2011 issue, which stands as a modern representation of a historic coinage series. One could then expand into the production statistics, the mintages from Philadelphia and Denver, the survival rates in high grade, the nuances of proof and satin finish issues, the market values in circulated, uncirculated, and certified conditions, the most notable error coins found in 2011 issues, and the way collectors pursue them through roll hunting and cherry-picking at coin shows the script could further explore the economics of coin production. The political debates over changing the composition of the nickel, the cost of metal and minting in the 21st century, and how this little coin fits into the larger story of America's changing relationship with cash and currency. Finally, the story of the 2011 Jefferson nickel is ultimately a story of continuity in a rapidly changing world. While technologies evolve and economies shift, the coin serves as a reminder of America's roots, its leaders, its values, and its artistic heritage. Jefferson stares at us from the obverse not as a figure of the distant past, but as a presence that still challenges us to think about liberty, democracy, and the meaning of the American experiment. Never look at your spare. Change the same way again. Stay with me as we uncover the entire untold story of the 2014 Jefferson nickel, from the first spark of design to the striking of rare error coins that are changing the numismatic world forever. In the world of American coinage, the Jefferson nickel stands as a symbol of continuity and quiet evolution. Tracing its story takes us through the halls of the United States Mint, the minds of engravers, and the hands of collectors who never stop searching for that one piece that makes history. The 2014 Jefferson nickel might seem ordinary to the untrained eye, but it carries a legacy that reaches back to the 1930s when the Buffalo nickel was replaced after 30 years of use. The Buffalo nickel, which itself had been a radical design, showcasing a Native American profile, and an American bison, had become difficult to strike clearly, over time leading to calls for a new design. In 1938, a competition was held, and Felix Schlag, an immigrant sculptor, submitted the winning design, featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous home Monticello on the reverse. This marked the beginning of the Jefferson nickel era, spanning decades through wars, economic upheavals, and changes in minting technology. Fast forward to the early 2000s, when the Westward Journey nickel series was launched to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. This brought temporary design changes to the reverse side, which thrilled collectors and sparked renewed interest in Jefferson nickels. However, by 2006, the nickel returned to its classic Monticello design, but with a modernized forward-facing portrait of Jefferson by Jamie Franke, who brought a lifelike perspective that connected modern engraving techniques with classic artistry. When we arrive at the 2014 mintage, the stage was set for a quiet yet significant year for nickel collectors. The 2014 Jefferson nickel was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with each mint mark carrying its own significance. The Philadelphia Mint, with its P-Mint mark, produced the highest numbers, but within those millions lie subtle die varieties and striking errors that make all the difference for collectors' die. Clashes, off-center strikes, and double dies are the holy grail for nickel hunters. In this year, sharp-eyed collectors have discovered doubled Monticello letters, repunched mint marks, and even the rare full steps designation, a detail referring to the number of visible steps on Monticello that can turn an ordinary coin into a highly prized specimen. The full steps distinction is no small matter. On a nickel, weak strikes and worn dies often blur the steps. So when a coin shows a crisp, clear staircase on Monticello, collectors pay premium prices. The professional coin grading service PCGS and the numismatic guarantee company NGC regularly certify these coins, and the price jumps dramatically for a full steps specimen in top condition. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins for collectors, struck with specially polished dies and handled with extra care. These coins have a mirror-like finish and frosted details, creating a cameo effect. They are never meant for circulation, but sometimes they find their way into pocket change through mishandling or theft, giving sharp-eyed collectors an unexpected treasure hunting moment. The 2014 proof nickels also include silver versions as part of special mint sets, which add another layer to their appeal. To understand the market value, you must study auction records, private sales, and grading reports in recent years. Top grade 2014 Jefferson nickels with full steps have sold for hundreds or even thousands, depending on their condition errors. And demand. One notable example includes a 2014 P. Jefferson nickel with a dramatic die clash that fetched a surprising premium because error collectors seek these anomalies to complete their specialized sets. Beyond the technical aspects, the Jefferson nickel holds cultural and educational significance. Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and a champion of democratic ideals, is immortalized in this coin. His legacy reflects America's complex history of freedom, innovation, and contradiction. Owning a 2014 Jefferson nickel is like holding a small piece of that living history. Some collectors choose to build complete date and mint mark sets starting from 1938 to the present, adding proofs, varieties, and errors along the way. The 2014 issue often fills a critical gap in modern sets, as its die varieties and condition rarities keep collectors engaged in the hunt coin roll. Hunting is one of the most popular ways to search for these valuable nickels. Enthusiasts pick up bank rolls, inspect each coin under magnification, and hope to spot a mint-era repunched mark or that elusive full steps example. Stories abound in the numismatic community of lucky hunters who find rare pieces in circulation, turning a 50-cent nickel into a $1,000 collectible. There is a deeper truth to this hobby, too. It teaches patience, attention to detail, and an appreciation for the art and science behind coin minting. The dies that strike these coins endure tremendous pressure and heat, often wearing down or cracking under stress, resulting in the fascinating varieties we chase today. As technology advances, laser scanning, Dye production and digital sculpting have made modern coins more precise, yet errors still slip through, reminding us that the human element remains at the heart of minting. Some collectors worry that modern nickels like the 2014 will never match the romance of classic coins like the Buffalo or early Jeffersons. Yet these coins already tell a story of a nation in transition, of design revival, and of the enduring appeal of pocket change that just might hold a hidden treasure. So next time you see a 2014 Jefferson nickel, look closely. Study the steps, inspect the mint mark, and check for doubling. Because in the quietest corners of the coin world, these modern nickels may yet surprise you. We will now dive deeper into each mint. The Philadelphia Mint's massive production numbers, the Denver Mint's sharp strikes, and the San Francisco Mint's dazzling proofs. We will look at grading criteria, how to spot full steps, the best storage methods to preserve your nickels, and how to navigate the market. Whether buying or selling along the way, you will hear stories from veteran collectors, tips from professional graders, and insights into what makes a seemingly common coin an extraordinary find. By the end of this journey, you will understand why the Jefferson nickel, especially the 2014 issue, remains a cornerstone of American numismatics. Its value is not just monetary, it is historical, artistic, and cultural. Join me for this deep dive into the 2014 Jefferson nickel and discover the hidden wealth in America's change drawer, because sometimes a 5-cent coin is worth far more than its face value, and the adventure of the hunt is priceless than just metal. It is a reflection of American history, innovation, and the spirit of change. It all began in 1938 when the United States Mint decided to replace the Buffalo nickel with a new design that would honor the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, the man who drafted the Declaration of Independence and whose legacy is etched deeply into the fabric of American democracy. Felix Schlag, a German-American sculptor, won the design competition, and his rendering of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello, his Virginia home, became iconic symbols that would adorn the 5-cent coin for decades to come. Over the years, the Jefferson nickel has witnessed countless changes in minting technology, metal composition, and design refinements during World War II. A significant change occurred when nickel became a strategic metal needed for the war effort. From 1942 to 1945, the mint produced what collectors call wartime nickels. These coins contain 35% silver to replace the nickel that was needed for military manufacturing. These wartime nickels are easily identifiable by the large mint mark above Monticello on the reverse, a unique feature that makes them highly sought after by collectors. The transition back to the standard nickel-copper alloy in 1946 marked the end of an era, but the Jefferson nickel continued to evolve in 2004 and 2005. The United States Mint launched the Westward Journey Nickel Series to commemorate the bicentennials of the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition. These nickels featured temporary new designs, such as the Peace Medal, the Keelboat, the American Bison, and the Ocean. In view, these special editions reignited public interest in the nickel series, leading to new generations of collectors starting their own hoards. When 2006 arrived, the portrait of Jefferson underwent a significant redesign. The obverse featured a forward-facing image of Jefferson based on a Rembrandt Peale portrait, giving the coin a fresh contemporary look. The reverse returned to the classic Monticello design, tying the modern coin to its historic roots. As collectors know, condition, rarity, mint mark, and errors all play crucial roles in the value of any coin, and the Jefferson nickel is no exception. Over the decades, certain dates have become legends among numismatists. The 1950 D Jefferson nickel is one of the key dates, with a low mintage of just 2.6 million coins, making it a prize for any serious collection. Varieties and errors, like the doubled die obverse on the 1943 P or the misplaced mint marks from earlier years, add layers of mystery and value to the series. The 2021 Jefferson nickel stands out in recent years for multiple reasons. While it may seem like just another modern coin, Its low production numbers due to the pandemic era. Minting challenges have made certain mint marks and high-grade examples highly desirable. The Denver Mint struck millions of these nickels, but finding one in pristine mint state 67 or higher can be a true challenge. Collectors pay close attention to the full steps designation, a grading standard that measures the sharpness of the steps on Monticello on the reverse side. A coin with full steps indicates a perfect strike and can command premiums many times the face value. Imagine holding a simple 5-cent piece that could sell for hundreds or even thousands, depending on its condition errors. On the 2021 nickels also intrigue collectors. Reports of die clashes off center strikes and weak strikes make searching rolls of nickels an exciting treasure hunt. The hunt for these coins takes collectors to banks, coin shows, and online auctions, where bidding wars can erupt over the finest examples beyond the physical coin. The Jefferson nickel connects people to American history. Think of how many hands a nickel passes through. The small piece of metal becomes a time capsule, carrying the legacy of a president and artist, and the moments in history that demanded changes to its very composition. To tell this story fully, you must dive into the processes of the United States Mint, the design competitions, the striking presses, the quality control measures that ensure billions of coins are made. Yet only a few emerge with those coveted perfect grades. Meet the community of nickel hunters who gather at conventions, who pore over bags of change, who search for the elusive wartime silver nickels in pocket change still today. Learn about the grading companies who examine these coins under microscopes, the auctions where record prices make headlines, and the stories of people who stumbled upon nickels worth fortunes in their pocket. Change. The story of the Jefferson nickel is not just about metal, but about people, about the collectors who dedicate lifetimes to studying these tiny discs, about the historians who connect each minting change to a chapter in American history, about the future generations who will inherit these collections and continue the search for the rarest specimens, whether you hold a simple nickel or a rare mint state gem. Remember that. In the world of numismatics, every coin has a story. Every scratch tells a tale, and every collector keeps the legacy alive. And so as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Jefferson nickels, especially the emerging significance of the 2021 coins, remember to check your pocket change. Who knows what hidden treasures you might discover next? Imagine holding in your hand a coin that was born in the aftermath of World War II, a coin that reflects not only the economic recovery of the United States, but also the enduring legacy of one of its most important founding fathers, the 1948 Jefferson. Nickel is more than just a small piece of metal. It is a window into American history, design artistry, and the progress of the minting process in the mid-20th century. When we begin the journey of understanding the 1948 Jefferson nickel, must first travel back to its origins. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it carried with it a new image of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse, and Jefferson's Monticello home on the reverse, sculpted by Felix Schlag. The design was intended to reflect both the ideals of democracy and the architectural beauty that Jefferson so passionately loved. By 1948, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for a decade, but this particular year holds unique importance in the broader context of numismatics and American history. To understand the significance of the 1948 Jefferson nickel, we must examine the political and economic climate of the late 1940s. The United States was transitioning from wartime production to a booming post-war economy. The coinage system reflected stability as the country entered into a new era of prosperity and expansion. The nickel itself was made of its traditional copper-nickel alloy, composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Unlike the wartime nickels of 1942 to 1945 that contained silver, the return to the copper-nickel alloy signaled normalcy after years of global conflict. For collectors and historians, the 1948 issue represents that shift back to peace and consistency. The Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint were all responsible for producing Jefferson nickels in 1948, and each mint mark tells its own story. Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark. Denver coins bore a small D, and San Francisco coins bore an S mint mark, found to the right of Monticello on the reverse. The mintage numbers were substantial, with the Philadelphia mint producing over 89 million nickels, the Denver mint producing nearly 45 million, and the San Francisco mint striking about 11 million. While these numbers suggest that the 1948 nickel is not particularly rare in terms of overall survival, condition rarity tells a different tale, finding high-grade examples with sharp details. Full steps on Monticello and pristine luster is a true challenge, and it is these finer points that drive collector interest. The artistry of the Jefferson nickel deserves deeper attention. Felix Schlag's original design was modified slightly over time, with Monticello's details often appearing weak or flat on circulation strikes. Collectors of Jefferson nickels often focus on the full steps designation, a grading detail that indicates the steps leading up to Monticello are fully visible without wear or flattening. In 1948, this becomes especially important because production quality at the mints, varied coins from Philadelphia often exhibit softer strikes compared to Denver issues, while San Francisco pieces frequently show weaker details, making high-quality San Francisco coins particularly desirable among specialists. The story of the 1948 Jefferson nickel also cannot be separated from the cultural landscape of America. During that year, 1948, was a time of political contest, as President Harry S. Truman won a surprising re-election. The Cold War was beginning to shape international relations. The Marshall Plan was actively rebuilding. Europe and domestically the United States was solidifying its identity as a post-war power. Against this backdrop, ordinary Americans carried 1948 nickels in their pockets, using them in everyday transactions at grocery stores, gas stations, diners, and movie theaters. The nickel became a silent companion to the daily lives of millions, embodying both Jefferson's vision and America's forward momentum. Condition rarity and grading standards make up another chapter in this coin's long history. Collectors today prize examples of the 1948 nickel in mint state condition. Those certified by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC often command premiums, especially when designated with full steps. A top-quality 1948 Jefferson nickel with full steps can transform an otherwise common date into a true prize within a registry set. In fact, registry set competition has elevated the status of even seemingly ordinary dates like 1948, as collectors seek perfection in every slot of their Jefferson nickel collections. Errors and varieties add another fascinating dimension. The 1948 Jefferson nickel is known for several die variations and minting anomalies, including repunched mint marks, doubled dies, and strike-through errors. Though not as dramatic as some other dates, these varieties capture the attention of advanced collectors, each one a reminder of the imperfections of the minting process and the human element behind machine-struck coinage. Studying these varieties gives us a glimpse into the technical side of mint production in the late 1940s, where dies wore out or were hand-punched with mint marks, creating subtle differences that have become treasures for specialists today. From a historical standpoint, the Jefferson nickel also reflects Jefferson's legacy as a thinker and statesman. Jefferson was not just a president, he was an author of the Declaration of Independence, a founder of the University of Virginia, an advocate for liberty and learning. His portrait on the coin is not just decorative. It is symbolic of the ideals of freedom, democracy, and architecture as an art of civilization. Monticello itself stands as a monument to Jefferson's intellect and vision, and in 1948, every coin that bore his home reminded Americans of that enduring legacy. For 2 full hours, one could explore the many branches of this coin's story, from minting techniques to historical parallels, from collector markets to cultural meaning. The 1948 Jefferson nickel is more than a simple piece of currency. It is a bridge between past and present, a tangible artifact of post-war America, and a continuing subject of fascination for numismatists around the world, whether tucked away in a collection certified In a holder or still occasionally found in circulation, the coin carries with it 75 years of history artistry and the enduring image of a man who helped shape a nation. Imagine holding in your hand a small piece of American history, a coin that has survived decades of change from the aftermath of the Second World War through the Cold War civil rights struggles and modern digital transformations, and yet it remains a silent witness to all of it. This is not just a nickel, it is the Jefferson nickel of 1946, and it tells a story far greater than its 5-cent face value. Collectors, historians, and everyday Americans may look at this coin as ordinary. But when you dig deep into its design, production, and historical context, you realize this coin represents resilience, transition, and national identity. The Jefferson nickel had been first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and was designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, who won the design competition. Schlag's portrait of Thomas Jefferson, facing left with a dignified expression, was chosen to symbolize America's third president, author of the Declaration of Independence, and a key architect of democratic ideals. The reverse depicted Jefferson's Monticello estate, with its neoclassical architecture standing as a monument to Jefferson's vision of liberty and enlightenment. Thinking by 1946, the Jefferson nickel had already endured a crucial change during World War II when the United States altered the composition of the coin to preserve nickel metal for the war effort from mid-1942 to 1945. Nickels contained an alloy of copper, silver, and manganese, rather than the traditional copper-nickel blend. These were known as war nickels, and they carried a distinctive large mint mark above Monticello to indicate the change. When the war ended in 1945, the United States faced the monumental task of transitioning from wartime production to peacetime. Industry factories that had once built tanks and planes returned to producing consumer goods. Soldiers returned home, and America entered an era of optimism yet uncertainty. The 1946 Jefferson nickel became the first year in which the coin returned to its original pre-war composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It was both a return to normalcy and a marker of post-war recovery. The Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint all struck 1946 nickels, with mintages in the hundreds of millions reflecting a growing economy and the need for circulating coinage to support the post-war boom. The Philadelphia Mint struck the highest mintage at over 161 million pieces. The Denver Mint produced around 45 million, while San Francisco added nearly 14 million, making the S-Mint coins the scarcest of the three in circulation at the time. Collectors today note that while the 1946 nickel is common in lower circulated grades, high-grade uncirculated examples with full steps, details on Monticello are far more elusive. This is due to the quality of striking during the period where weak strikes often plagued Jefferson nickels. Full steps designations are especially prized by collectors and can command significant premiums. The year 1946 itself adds to the historical weight of this coin. America was emerging as a global superpower. The United Nations had just been founded in 1945, and the United States was leading post-war reconstruction. Under the Marshall Plan domestically, the GI Bill was helping returning veterans pursue education and buy homes. Suburbanization was beginning, and the American economy was shifting toward consumer prosperity. In this context, the Jefferson nickel circulated in the pockets of citizens buying groceries, paying bus fares, and fueling the everyday lives of Americans who were stepping into a new chapter of national life. From a design perspective, the coin remained unchanged, with Jefferson's profile on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. Yet it carried symbolic importance. Jefferson's legacy as a champion of liberty was highlighted in a time when America was positioning itself as the leader of the free world, in contrast to the growing tensions with the Soviet Union that would soon escalate into the Cold War. The nickel's metallic return from silver wartime alloy to copper-nickel blend also symbolized peace, stability, and economic normalcy. Once again, Americans could handle a nickel that looked and felt like the ones before the war for collectors. The 1946 Jefferson nickel represents a pivotal transitional issue. It is not rare in the sense of low mintage, but its historical positioning as the first peacetime nickel after the war makes it significant. The San Francisco mint issues are scarcer and more challenging to find in higher grades, which adds collecting interest, while error varieties, such as repunched mint marks or doubled dies, though not extremely common, do exist and provide specialists with unique challenges and rewards in building sets. To fully appreciate the 1946 nickel, one must also place it in the broader timeline of the Jefferson nickel series. The early years from 1938 to 1941 saw the introduction and establishment of Schlag's design. Then the war years from 1942 to 1945 introduced the silver alloy nickels, which have always fascinated collectors for their wartime context. Then 1946 marked the return to the classic alloy and symbolized the nation's shift to peacetime. By the late 1940s and into the 1950s, Jefferson nickels would continue to circulate widely, becoming one of the most familiar and stable denominations in American coinage history, beyond numismatics. The 1946 nickel tells us about the psychology of a nation. Coins are daily objects handled by millions, yet they capture the mood of their time. In 1946, the nation was filled with optimism and rebuilding energy. The soldiers were back, industries were booming, and coins like the Jefferson nickel were the currency of this prosperity. Each one circulated in countless hands, buying newspapers, ice cream sodas, streetcar tickets, and small luxuries that symbolized the return of peace. In the decades since, the 1946 nickel has become a staple of collections, especially for those building complete Jefferson nickel sets from 1938 onward. Its value in circulated condition remains modest, but in uncirculated condition with sharp details and lustrous surfaces, it can fetch strong prices. Registry set collectors especially seek out coins with full steps designations, as these demonstrate the pinnacle of quality and strike precision from an era when such coins were not easy to produce. When you look closely at a 1946 Jefferson nickel, you see more than metal. You see the transition from war to peace, from scarcity to abundance, from uncertainty to optimism. You see the image of Thomas Jefferson, whose ideals continued to inspire a post-war America charting its destiny on the world stage. You see Monticello standing firm like the Republic itself, resilient after global conflict. And you see the craftsmanship of the United States Mint, resuming traditional practices after years of extraordinary wartime measures. This coin, therefore, is not merely a 5-cent piece. It is a bridge in American history, a marker of return, a symbol of stability, and a tangible reminder of 1946, a year when the world was being reshaped and the United States was stepping into a new role on the global stage. It continues to fascinate collectors, historians, and storytellers alike, making it one of the most interesting issues in the Jefferson nickel series.